Also, continuation of current policies will lead to a catastrophic temperature rise of up to 3.1 degrees centigrade.
With first step to world war. North Korea preparing 10,000 soldiers to join Russia's war, Zelensky confirms. Trump says Ukraine's Zelensky should never have let that war start. U.S. sanctions force Sputnik radio off the air, as 2 U.S. radio stations end Russian-backed propaganda programming. France, Germany join U.S. space warfighting plan Olympic defender. U.S. demands Israel improve humanitarian conditions in Gaza or risk military aid.
Report claims Netanyahu says Israel will strike Iranian military targets before November 5th election. Biden warned Iran that killing Trump would be an act of war, claimed in a report. U.S. warns Iran to stop plotting against Trump, says U.S. official. In the U.S., 30% of the cameras in Border Patrol's main surveillance system are broken, memo says.
India says it reached deal with China on army patrols along disputed border. Brazil's Lula cancels BRICS trip after minor brain hemorrhage from fall. Putin says his presence at G20 in Brazil would undermine work there.
Trump works the fry station and holds a drive-through news conference at a Pennsylvania McDonald's. Trump selling a nearly $1 million MAGA experience amid New York rally. Breitbart reports that Trump said Madison Square Garden rally sold out in less than 3 hours. Going to be fantastic. Elon Musk's election promise of $1 million daily giveaway sparks call for probe.
Leaked documents show U.S. intelligence on Israel's plans to attack Iran, sources say, as pro-Iranian account leaks alleged U.S. intelligence on Israel's attack plans. U.S. investigating unauthorized release of classified documents on Israel attack plans. Kamala Harris publicly agrees with protester accusing Israel of genocide with saying, "What he's talking about, it's real." Al Arabiya reports as, a Palestinian-American cardiologist loses 175 family members in Gaza.
Video published by Ukraine allegedly shows North Korean soldiers in Russia. Captured Leopard 2 resurfaces at Russia's main tank factory. Ukraine says it struck airfield and largest explosives factory in Russia. U.S. hits Houthis with precision strikes on weapon facilities in Yemen. Biden tells Netanyahu it's time to end Gaza war after Sinwar's elimination. Israel says Yahya Sinwar, Hamas top leader in Gaza, killed in major blow to militant group.
In Ethiopia, UN chief advocates for permanent Security Council seats for Africa. Brazil, Lula reiterates opposition to Venezuela's entry into BRICS. 2 months ago, Venezuelan government has authoritarian bias, says Brazil's Lula. Taiwan rejects South African demand to move its representative office from capital. China holds live fire drills on island closest to Taiwan. In India, Supreme Court says secularism a core part of the Constitution. Holy See and China extend provisional agreement on appointment of bishops. As Synod features Chinese members, British Lord draws attention to religious persecution.
The head of Mali's military junta appoints himself to the highest rank in the army. Russia pushes New World Order agenda as it hosts beefed-up BRICS summit. Bloomberg comments as Vladimir Putin is gaining in his fight to divide Europe. UK's foreign chief predicts quick end to Russia and Ukraine war if Trump wins.
Trauma, suicide plaguing Israeli soldiers upon return from Gaza, reported by CNN. Meta's Israel policy chief tried to suppress pro-Palestinian Instagram posts.
BBC comments as, Moscow had high hopes for Trump in 2016. It's more cautious this time. 5 months ago, Washington Post reported that Donald Trump says he would bomb Moscow and Beijing. Russia, UAE trade tripled during last 3 years, Putin says. Russia and Ukraine each bring home 95 prisoners of war in UAE-mediated swap. Anti-drone drone developed by Ukraine to take out Iranian-designed kamikazes.
Kyiv preparing internal plan to strengthen Ukraine. Zelensky confirms. Russian lawmakers ratify pact with North Korea. As U.S. confirms that Pyongyang sent troops to Russia. South Korea warns it may send Ukraine weapons after North Korea sent troops to Russia. South and North Korea troops potentially entering Ukraine war unlikely to stoke regional conflict, analysts say.
At BRICS Summit, Putin welcomes Trump's comments on ending Ukraine war. Putin can't recall Trump threatening to blow up Moscow. At least 7 countries resisting Ukraine's NATO membership invitation, Politico reports. The Telegraph comments as, Russia is on the verge of collapse. Europe cannot abandon targeted sanctions. Israel names Al Jazeera reporters as Gaza militants. Network condemns unfounded allegations. Strike on Iran will make world understand Israel's might, says defense minister. With up to 1,000 missiles, Iranian officials disclosed potential retaliation plans, as reported by the New York Times. IDF soldiers should refuse orders that may be war crimes, Israeli former security advisor tells BBC. CNN reports that more than 130 Israeli reservists signed letter refusing to fight in Gaza and Lebanon.
U.S. confirms North Korea has sent 3,000 troops to Russia for training and possible Ukraine combat. In the U.S., DHS is seeking more than 600 migrants for possible ties to Venezuelan gang. Terrorist attack on state-owned Turkish aerospace industries kills at least 4 people, official says. Turkey hits Kurdish militant targets after a deadly attack on defense company. X admits error led to reinstatement of key suspect in Jamal Khashoggi murder. UK-based dissident can sue Saudi Arabia for alleged spyware, court rules. U.S. charges Iranian Revolutionary Guards official in assassination plot. Deepfake romance scam raked in $46 million from men across Asia, police say. Brazil arrests U.S. Dudi hacker tied to FBI, national public data breaches. 2 months ago, U.S. Dudi hacker, behind $3 billion SSN leak, reveals himself as Brazilian citizen. In the U.S., 2 Sudanese nationals indicted for alleged role in anonymous Sudan cyberattacks on hospitals, government facilities, and other critical infrastructure in Los Angeles and around the world.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway hikes its SiriusXM stake to 32% after Liberty deal. Activist Starboard Value has $1 billion Pfizer stake, taps former executives for help, sources say. Toyota joins with Hyundai's Boston Dynamics on AI-powered robots. Expedia shares gain on report that Uber explored making a bid. The FTC makes it easier to cancel subscriptions like streaming services, memberships, and Prime. McKinsey to pay at least $500 million in DOJ opioid probe. 3 years ago it has been reported as, McKinsey never told the FDA it was working for opioid makers while also working for the agency. Apple expands tools to help businesses connect with customers, as any verified business can now create a consistent brand and location presence across apps that customers use every day, including Apple Maps, Wallet, and Mail. Winamp deletes entire GitHub source code repo after a rocky few weeks. U.S. trade head urges Brazil to consider risks of China Belt and Road Initiative, as Brazil eyes China's Belt and Road Initiative. U.S. says to reconsider. India does not share Japanese PM Shigeru Ishiba's view of Asian NATO, says India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar. China says Australia plagued by systemic racism after diplomat raises concerns about human rights in Tibet and Xinjiang.
In the U.S., Raytheon Company to pay over $950 million in connection with defective pricing, foreign bribery, and export control schemes. Treasury announces enhanced fraud detection processes, including machine learning AI, prevented and recovered over $4 billion in fiscal year 2024. FCC mandates universal hearing aid compatibility for all mobile phones.
X looks to steer lawsuits to Musk's favorite Tesla investor judge. New records show Texas judge on X case didn't sell his Tesla shares after taking the suit. The specialists who authenticate trading cards for eBay are rallying for a union contract. India plans laptop import curbs to boost local manufacturing, sources say. Apple celebrates 10 years of Apple Pay, with Klarna being available to UK and US users, and Apple Pay accessible on third-party web browsers and computers. ECB cuts interest rate again as inflation appears under control.
Chinese self-driving startup Pony AI files for US IPO. Unity releases Unity Engine 6, with open-source AI models over Sentis, automated game opponents and game outcome predictions using AI, and simpler multiplayer game creation. Voice actors in Japan create group to fight unauthorized AI use of their voices, as Yuki Kaji teams up with Code Geass and Hunter x Hunter voice actors. after AI becomes the latest threat to the anime industry.
Win for Musk's Starlink, as India says no to spectrum auction pitch from Ambani, Mittal. Elon Musk's X dodges EU's DMA, as block decides platform isn't important enough for fairness controls, as Elon Musk's X evades compliance with landmark EU antitrust regulation. US shields Lebanese citizens from deportation amid Israel's war. Cubans struggle as power not fully restored to the island after days of blackout. Justin Trudeau testifies that Russia funded Tucker Carlson and Jordan Peterson in support of their anti-vax COVID claims, as Tucker Carlson funded by Russian propaganda machine. Justin Trudeau testifies under oath. China's rise in research papers has an unfair home bias, say US and Japan studies. Japan pressed by US lawmakers to strengthen chip curbs on China. Reportedly, China posts slowest growth since aftermath of zero COVID curbs.
In the US, regulator investigates Tesla's automated driving feature after fatal crash. TSMC says it will take prompt action to ensure compliance after reported US probe into possible work with Huawei. Malicious ads exploited Internet Explorer 0-day to drop malware. Nebius set to resume Nasdaq trading after completing split from Russia's Yandex. 3 months ago, Yandex NV finalizes $5.4 billion deal to sell Russian businesses, and Yandex NV renamed Nebius Group after Russia split. U.S. Cellular to sell certain spectrum licenses to Verizon in $1 billion deal. Fujisoft sticks with KKR despite higher takeover offer from Bain. FT commented as KKR and Bain in all-out $4 billion fight for Japan's Fujisoft.
China just triggered more stimulus measures, even as it says its economy is showing stable growth. China's GDP growth slowed down to 4.6%. Gallup announced that majority of Americans feel worse off than 4 years ago. AI bubble will burst 99% of players, says Baidu CEO. Deutsche Bank and Codex AI launch white paper to explore the transformative potential of generative AI in banking. 7 Israelis arrested for spying on behalf of Iran. Suspects accused of collecting information on targeted military bases. Reportedly, Iran leaking sensitive information on top Israeli officials. Israel strikes banks across Lebanon to hit Hezbollah's finances. IDF making life impossible in northern Gaza, UN says.
MetLife said to be in talks to buy Tycoon Lee's Pinebridge assets outside of China. A week after China's war games, U.S. and Canadian warships sail through Taiwan Strait. Close your eyes and buy U.S. stocks, not China stocks, Muddy Waters Carson Block says. Moldova says yes to pro-EU constitutional changes by tiny margin. Kremlin says Moldova's elections were not free, and results raise many questions. Recently, Moldova president blames interference for potential EU referendum loss. I'll stand for Russian president when Putin's gone, Navalny's widow tells BBC. Trudeau has wrecked Canada and India political relations, says expelled envoy, and Trudeau ruined bilateral ties for political gains, says India's outgoing envoy. 4 days ago, India made horrific mistake, violating Canadian sovereignty, says Trudeau.
Cigna resumes merger discussions with Humana after talks ended last year. In the UK Whitehall, the state mechanism to deliver plan to mutualize crisis hit post office. Indian tycoon Ratan Tata dies aged 86.
In the U.S., federal judge announced that Meta, Google, TikTok must face schools addiction claims. Biden set to apologize to Native Americans for Indian boarding schools. Federal agency closes investigation into RFK Jr. over dead whale carcass, saying allegation unfounded.
In the U.S., CFPB orders Apple and Goldman Sachs to pay over $89 million for Apple Card failures. In the U.S., reportedly, 15 corporations used Trump tax cuts to pump $839 billion into buybacks and dividends. Starbucks suspends 2025 guidance as sales slump 7% in Q4.
Yellen says isolationism made America and the world worse off in speech to global finance leaders. Amazon says it has a First Amendment right to union bust. Kamala Harris backs $15 minimum wage in fight with Trump over pay.
FTC's rule banning fake online reviews goes into effect. Celebrity jet tracking accounts have vanished from Threads and Instagram, as Meta suspends accounts tracking Trump, Bezos jets, echoing Elon Musk's X. Google Messages adding enhanced spam protection, sensitive content warnings for nudity.
Cryptocurrency transactions volumes spike nearly 25% in Brazil. Brazil's central bank chief sees huge de-anchoring of inflation expectations. Peru's former President Toledo gets more than 20 years in prison in case linked to corruption scandal.
Reportedly, Bitcoin miners take divergent paths 6 months after revenue halving. BlackRock's ETF chief says 75% of its Bitcoin buyers are crypto fans new to Wall Street. BlackRock eyes biddle for derivatives collateral in crypto exchanges.
Stripe in talks to buy crypto startup Bridge for $1 billion. Sam Altman's WorldCoin rebrands as World and launches updated iris scanning orb. FBI arrests man for SEC social media hack over fake Bitcoin ETF approval post.
Robinhood launches desktop platform, adds futures and index options trading to app. Ripple leads $25 million round in Bitnomial as the derivatives exchange launches futures trading platform in U.S. Crypto company Tether talking to commodity traders about lending them its billions. MrBeast allegedly reaped $10 million promoting and dumping altcoins. Börse Stuttgart Digital chooses AWS for crypto infrastructure.
Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft in race for $4 trillion market cap. Stage is set for tech stocks for another 20% move higher in 2025. Nvidia will win the race to a $4 trillion market cap, but the long-term big tech battle might be different, experts say. Goldman Sachs announced 4 months ago, generative AI could raise global GDP by 7%. Judge sides with FTC, blocking Kate Spade and Michael Kors merger.
Trump scraps town hall Q&A, plays music videos for crowd instead. Harris could join Joe Rogan podcast and hunt for male votes, sources say. Kamala Harris will sit down with Bret Baier for her first Fox News interview. FEMA temporarily pauses aid in parts of North Carolina over reported threats.
BBC boss says word talent banned as workplace culture review begins. And BBC boss says, Russia and China taking advantage of world service cuts. Venezuela cancels passports of dozens of activists and journalists. Microsoft places assessment in investing in Bitcoin as a voting item for December shareholder meeting. Elon Musk owned X's India revenue and profit declined 90% in financial year 24. UBS CEO says Europe's fragmented banking markets increase costs. HBO documentary identifies Peter Todd as Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto. Nigeria court releases Binance executive detained for months. IMF declares global fight against high inflation is almost won.
Ireland drafting urgent crypto laws before EU money laundering rules. European Central Bank claims early Bitcoin investors exploit new buyers. Trump family will get 75% of crypto token revenue, as Trump family gets 75% of crypto coin revenue, has no liability, new document reveals.
Eric Adams' legal hopes and corruption case could depend on Trump victory, claimed by sources. In the U.S., 4.8 M borrowers, including 1 M in public service, have had student debt forgiven, Biden administration says. L.A. Catholic Church payouts for clergy abuse top $1.5 billion with new record settlement. As 1 day ago, Archdiocese of Los Angeles agrees to pay $880 million settlement to clergy sex abuse victims.
J.D. Vance says Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 election. Donald Trump bears responsibility for January 6 attack. Jack Smith argues in new filing. Trump, running for president at 78, says only stupid people put old people in top federal roles. FBI quietly revised 2022 crime data to show violent offenses rose rather than dropped. In the U.S., former GOP Representative Liz Cheney endorses Democrat Susan Wild. Trump once again tries to silence Stormy Daniels before election, claimed in a report. Italy passes anti-surrogacy law that effectively bars gay couples from becoming parents.
Elon Musk's $75 million gift cements role as a top Trump donor. Bloomberg reports that EU readies measures against possible Trump tariffs. Journalist says FBI visited after he published hacked Vance document.
Chinese cyber agency rejects U.S. hacking claims in new report. U.S. weighs capping exports of AI chips from NVIDIA and AMD to some countries. Chinese researchers break RSA encryption with a quantum computer. Dutch government unveils measure that curbs exports of quantum technology. Chinese drone maker DJI sues U.S. Defense Department over military ties blacklisting. 1 month ago it has been announced as U.S. legislation barring DJI drones undermines American interests by the company. 2 years ago, U.S. puts Chinese drone giant DJI on military ties blacklist. 7 months ago, DJI details efforts to avert the potential $116 billion economic impact of U.S. blacklisting its drones. 8 years ago, USA's ICE had published an intelligence bulletin saying, DJI likely providing U.S. critical infrastructure and law enforcement data to Chinese government.
Trump says people from Fox helped him write Al Smith dinner speech. The network denies it. Trump says Fox shouldn't air negative ads. Pew Research announces that, in the U.S., Republicans and young adults now nearly as likely to trust info from social media as from national news outlets.
UK Labour Party accused of foreign interference over campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris, as Labour activists campaigning for Kamala Harris in US likely to break electoral law. Tim Walz defends queer and trans youth at length in interview with Glennon Doyle. NY Magazine comments as, Trump too exhausted to do interviews with unfriendly outlets. NYT comments as, Trump thinks the border got him elected in 2016. He's convinced it will do so again. In the US, Google to block election ads after polls close on election day. Amazon will stream election night coverage hosted by Brian Williams. Independent review finds systemic Secret Service failures enabled first Trump assassination attempt.
Foreign porn websites blocked in France for lack of age control checks. Trump says Apple CEO Cook called him with concerns about EU penalties. Donald Trump says Tim Cook is a better Apple CEO than Steve Jobs. EU may consider revenue from other Elon Musk businesses if it finds X, report says.
In France, Marine Le Pen's niece starts own party but backs Anne for president. Switzerland expels Austrian far-right figure Martin Sellner. Undercover film exposing UK far-right activists pulled from London Festival. And director of far-right documentary pulled from London Film Festival says, fear is its own form of censorship. Trump says, China respects him because she knows he is crazy. 5 days ago, China deploys record 125 warplanes in large-scale military drill and warning to Taiwan, and Taiwan military on high alert as Chinese drills encircle the island. Xi Jinping calls on China's army to step up preparations for war. She says China willing to be a partner, friend with the U.S. Taiwan reports surrounded by 153 Chinese military aircraft during drills.
Moldova holds election. EU referendum amid Russian interference claims. EU leaders to discuss stricter measures to curb arrivals of asylum seekers, and EU leaders embrace foreign return centers to counter illegal migration. It has been commented as call for jet set. Tax on Europe's frequent flyers could raise billions, and Europeans made 6% more tourism trips in 2023.
From Iran, 7 individuals and 7 entities sanctioned in response to Iran's missile transfer to Russia by the European Council. Israel vows Iran will pay for Hezbollah attack on Netanyahu home. Tehran distances itself. Iran hosts joint naval drills with Russia, Oman, and Indian Ocean.
Kamala Harris defends her economic plan and insists she won't be more of Joe Biden, in a tense interview with Fox News. J.D. Vance faces backlash for referring to his children as his wife's kids in new interview. Tim Walz struggles with shotgun at pheasant hunt, gets mocked. Mark Cuban says, the election is now a battle between Kamala Harris and Elon Musk, not Donald Trump, and it has been commented as, Mark Cuban wants Elon Musk and Kamala Harris to be friends. Piers Morgan comments on New York Post as, Trump's genius McDonald's stunt will fry Kamala at the ballot box. McDonald's tells workers it doesn't endorse political candidates after Trump visit.
Harris interview with Fox News showcases a change in strategy for Democrats with network. It has been commented as, Democrats are helping restore Fox News to cable dominance. Steve Ballmer has spent $100 million in a new twist on political giving. Arm the public with facts says, Microsoft billionaire fights U.S. election disinformation. Trump tax plans could exempt 93 million Americans from income taxes. Russian propaganda unit appears to be behind spread of false Tim Walz sexual abuse claims. 5 days ago, a video surfaces as Tim Walz assaulted high school student Matthew Metro in 1997. In the U.S., Congress House panel finds Trump assassination event preventable in interim report. 1 in 5 Republicans want Trump to call election invalid if he loses. Trump proposals could drain Social Security in 6 years, a budget group says. Biden to propose that insurers cover over-the-counter birth control. In crypto, $2 billion wagered on the next president, and billions in election bets raise the stakes of the presidential race.
Salon comments as, if Trump wins, blame the New York Times. Harris has no current plans to campaign with Biden before Election Day. Harris says Trump's profanity, vulgar remarks will repel voters, and Harris says Trump's behavior demeans the presidency after vulgar remarks. Donald Trump groped me in what felt like a twisted game with Jeffrey Epstein, former model alleges. Wrong way driver passes Harris motorcade on Milwaukee Highway. McDonald's location visited by Trump attracts negative reviews, causing Yelp to disable comments.
McConnell says MAGA movement is completely wrong, and Reagan wouldn't recognize Trump's GOP. Justice Department warns Elon Musk that his $1 million giveaway to registered voters may be illegal. In the TikTok election, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris v. for younger voters.
Austria president hands runner-up Conservatives' path to rule. Donald Trump files legal complaint against UK Labour Party over help for Kamala Harris. Trump set to go on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Polymarket, crypto betting platform cracks down on US-based users, as whale bets on Trump. Reportedly the Polymarket whale is placing as many as 71 Trump bets per minute. Politico comments as, a wave of crypto-friendly lawmakers is about to crash Congress. Trump excludes Asian and European cars from vehicle tax break plan. Qualcomm announces collaboration with Google aimed at advancing digital transformation in automotive. Li Auto and Mercedes-Benz AG select Qualcomm's Snapdragon Elite tier automotive platforms for their future commercialized vehicles. TSMC told US of chip in Huawei product after TechInsights finding, source says. As Huawei Technologies' latest AI chips were produced by TSMC.
Radio station in Poland fired its journalists and replaced them with AI presenters. NVIDIA supplier SK Hynix reports record third-quarter financial results amid strong AI memory demand. NVIDIA to supply AI chips to Reliance, partner with Infosys, TCS. NVIDIA CEO says India should focus on exporting AI rather than chips.
In the U.S., senators press for Inspector General probe of Biden and Harris administration weaponizing Department of Justice and FTC leaks. Democratic lawmakers request special counsel investigation into whether Jared Kushner acted as unregistered foreign agent. 20 days ago it has been reported that Trump's son-in-law Kushner has discussed U.S. and Saudi diplomacy with Saudi Crown Prince. Trump says he's open to pardoning Hunter Biden. In Trump versus Harris 2024 polls, Trump up in 3 new surveys, Harris leads in 2 others. As per Scripps News and Ipsos poll, Americans are bracing for violence but prepared to accept election results. Election betting site Polymarket says, Trump whale identified as French traitor.
In the U.S., doctor delays federally funded puberty blockers report for political reasons. Politico comments as, with their just over it, how Trump has converted male frustration into a movement. Quarter of Americans fear civil war after election, British The Times newspaper poll shows.
Georgia election official says, battleground state fended off cyber attack likely from a foreign country. Linus Torvalds affirms expulsion of Russian maintainers, on remove some entries due to various compliance requirements thread, with the various compliance requirements, are not just a U.S. thing.
UN report says, nations must close huge emissions gap in new climate pledges and deliver immediate action, or 1.5 degrees centigrade lost. Also, continuation of current policies will lead to a catastrophic temperature rise of up to 3.1 degrees centigrade. In the U.S., Biden administration expands tax credit for producing solar, wind and battery components. Space Solar and Transition Labs to deliver space-based solar power to Iceland by 2030, as Iceland poised to tap space-based solar energy by 2030 in landmark deal.
China rivalry will continue into the next decade, U.S. ambassador tells NBC News. Bloomberg comments as, China plays nice with U.S. partners ahead of possible Trump return. Taiwan says blockade would be act of war, as China holds more drills. Chinese official urges Apple to continue deepening presence in China.
Europe mustn't become world's museum, Michel tells ANSA. Georgia prepares for a divisive election which could determine its future in Europe. Barnier says Italy's migrant deal with Albania does not seem doable in France. Migrants return from Albania to Italy after court ruling. TKO Group to acquire IMG Professional Bull Riders and on location from Endeavor for $3.25 billion. Alien Romulus sequel and a secret new Predator movie in the works at 20th Century Studios. Maurizio Catalan's infamous banana will be sold at Sotheby's. The estimate is